Hi guys, this is Sterling here. I'm here with a build that you guys might have seen recently on the match plays. This is a Orange Retribution Frieza build. I haven't really had any requests for a deck video on this, but it's one that I've had a lot of fun with, and it's a little bit different than you might think. It is still on the orange anger train because, you know, Retribution, anger, it's a good idea. Plus, Frieza level 4 is insanely good. So you definitely want to get there. And the anger route avoids unleashed targets and all that good stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and get right on into it. So, like I said, we've got Orange Retribution Mastery. 2 anger on that is just phenomenal, and the first turn grabbing of a drill is great. You grab one of the stop drills, either one, with that mastery, and you're looking at 3 anger on the table right there. And that just really powers you up off of that level 1, that if you get stuck on there with like a wall breaker or anything like that, really, you're kind of stuck and your game plan is screwed. So we'll go through here. We've got Frieza. There's only 1 stack. Of course, there is the promo God Frieza level 2. I am running that version instead of the original level 2 that copies attacks. So we're gonna go ahead and get right on into the deck contents here. This deck will start off with the non-styled, and actually I'm playing some allies in this one as well, so we'll get into those as well. So first off, we've got Time Warriors Tool. It's a good card, obviously, very useful in just about every single deck. You know, stops all attacks for combat. It's just a good card. So we'll get into the allies here. We've got Nappa. Nappa will shut off allies, or not allies, it'll shut off setups. Setups can't be used when he's in play. And you'll see here, I don't think I have very many setups in this deck. I think the only 2 that I have, well, we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, it's really good against like the Roshi decks or anything that's just really setup heavy, because there's not a whole lot of board removal in this. There's a little bit, but it's better used other ways than just the setups, at least in my opinion. And then we've got everybody's favorite ally, at least villain ally, Captain Ginyu. Lets you see your opponent's hand. Anytime you can see your opponent's hand, it's phenomenal. I mean, if you know what they have, you know what they can block, you know what they can't block, anything really. You can bait blocks, you can bait a sphere, anything you need to do really. And then we've got Zarbon. Zarbon lets you raise your anger after taking damage from a physical attack. And really, Frieza the weak point on this deck, because I'm throwing a lot of energies, you'll see it. The weak point is physical attacks and stage damage. If you get stage locked with this deck, it's really hard to do what you want to do. So the Zarbon getting anger off of the physicals, that's just going to push your MPPV win condition there. So it's like, okay, well, hurt me and I'll gain my anger. So, and then we've got 2 visiting the past. This is really good when you're in a combat. Obviously, you look in your discard pile, pull anything, put it in your hand, and you put one of them if you have 3 or more in your hand on the bottom of your life deck. That's really good to get you back some anger, maybe some anger hate, or maybe even more of that board control. It's just a good card all around. You can pull time, or really just there's so many options to pull with that. It was too good to not include it. I'm trying to get away from using Visiting the Past in my deck, just because it tends to slow down the game a little bit, at least in my opinion. It's too good not to have right now with this deck. We've got 2 copies of Devastating Blow. I've got this in here because not only does it raise my anger and it's anger hate, but it's also some discard pile hate. So it'll stop things like the Menace Loop, or if they've got time in the discard and you don't want them to get Visiting the Past or Rejuve it or or anything that's just really annoying you that it's in the discard, Death Blow can get rid of it, and that's really useful. We've got Sagacious Strike, 2 copies of it, obviously. It's all you're allowed. Got it in there to crit away Dragon Balls, crit away Anger, crit away allies, whatever you need. But also the big reason I have this in here is Wall Breaker. Like I said, if you get stuck on level 1 Wall Breaker, there are a few ways to get it off in this deck, but there's just... it's one of those that you kind of have to have in there, at least in my opinion. Then we've got 2 copies of Overwhelming Power. This is that discard hate that I was telling, or not discard, board hate that I was telling you about. When you play it and you've got a power level higher than your opponent's power level, you destroy up to 2 setups or drills. And then if you were to place this card into your hand by card effect, either by like level 4 Frieza or Visiting the Past, you get a critical damage effect just for that. And you can pull off a lot of combos just using this. Plus it's extra fuel for your supernovas. So to me it's a good inclusion. I like this better than the Captive Strike, especially since the orange doesn't have really any hand discard. So I'm running 2 of those. And we're running 3 copies of Overwhelming Power. Or Overpowering Attack, sorry. Overpowering Attack. Get those allies out. That's all these are about. Allies, 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 all day long. You need those allies out. Then we're running 3 copies of Frieza Supernova, obviously. Again, just it's a really strong attack, and if the opponent doesn't have a block and you've got some stuff in the discard, it's gonna hurt. You can end games with the Supernova very easily. Then we've got 3 copies of Point Blank Volley. I know a lot of people have been dissing on this card and say it's only for Vegeta and all that good stuff, but to me it's really a strong card to have in this deck. I mean it's anger hate, or it can be. It gives anger. You can banish it for endurance and put it in your hand to get you an extra action in a combat, which would be really essential against, say, a Goku deck. I've been having a lot of fun with this card. There hasn't really been a whole lot of times that I've drawn into this card and not wanted to enter and use it. Alright, so now we're getting into the drills here. I have got 2 copies of Orange Investigation Drill. This one prevents your anger from being lowered by more than 1 from any single effect. Plus, when it enters play, you banish an attached card that's in play. So again, that could be you know, a Wall Breaker if it's on you, or if the opponent has something or a bunch of attached cards and you know they're running Unleashed. This card is really useful. We've got 2 Orange Captivity Drills. Excuse me there. 2 Orange Captivity Drills. This is probably the only drill in this deck that I would say is really essential to the deck. The +3 stages is the biggest deal to me. The anger is nice, obviously, but really with as many energies as you're throwing, you need those stages bad. Okay, so then we've got 1 each of Burning Aura and Steady Drill, the orange block drills. There isn't really a whole lot that needs to be said about these. Like I said, level 1, pull 1 of them out, you got 3 anger on the board. Or even level 3, you have 3 anger on the board with these. They're just too good to pass up with orange. And then we've got 1 Orange Affection Drill. Lets you reveal 2 drills from your hand, shuffle them into your deck, and then draw the amount that you put into the deck. Again, it's kind of iffy whether I'm going to continue to use this or not. I haven't ever really used it to pull out of the deck or anything. It's just one of them that if I draw into, it's out there. So I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to keep this. I mean, it's good if you draw into it when you're in the defending phase. Well, not draw into it, but if you draw into drills and have this on the board on your defending, it's good then, but I'm just not entirely sold on it yet. And then, of course, we've got one copy of the checkup drill. I know a lot of people will use this for the defense loop and all that, but personally, I have it in here for the rejuvenation. Getting cards back into the deck with orange is difficult, and it's really helped a lot, especially with all the anger and everything else that goes on with it. I really like this card. And we've got 2 copies of Orange Stare Down. That is board hate at its finest right there. 2 stages, 4 life cards, banish, pretty much anything that's on the board there. Not really much else that can be said about that one. We've got 2 copies of Orange Refocus, to raise your anger 1. If you're on level 1 or 3 Frieza, that's 2 anger off of 1 block. Plus you get to search out a drill from your discard pile. With the drills that I'm running, it's just a good call. Plus it's got the Endurance 1 on there, so that's always nice. We've got 3 copies of Orange Eruption. It's not really a damage output card, but it is anger gain and anger hate, which is always very good with orange. We've got 3 copies of Orange Rage. It's got Endurance on it. It's got 2 anger on it. It's 2 stages for 5 life cards. Overall, a good card with the theme of the deck. We've got 3 copies of the Orange Dismissal. That's an energy block. You know, it's the checkup drill loop. I know that Panini has killed off the checkup drill loop every combat, using it, you know, multiple times in one combat. But it's still a good call, because if, say you've got a block drill out and you need the other one instead, here you go. We've got 3 Orange Energy Absorption. Gains you stages, gains you anger. Again, if you're on 1 or 3, that's 2 anger for a block. Just overall a good call. You've got Endurance 1 on it. Not a whole lot more can be said about it. We've got 3 Orange PowerPoint. 2 stages, 6 cards. If it hits, you search out a drill from your deck, put it in play. It's really just a staple card for orange. You can't go wrong putting it in an orange deck. Then we've got 3 Orange Fierce Attack. This card is insanely good. It shuts off all endurance for your opponent for your styled attacks, and then on hit, it's anger hate and anger gain. It is way too good to pass up, especially considering it only costs 1 stage and does 4 life cards of damage unbuffed. It's just too good. We've got 3 Orange Dodge, Physical Stop. Gains you stages and prevents stage loss. Again, with Frieza and you're running as many energy attacks as you are, stages are essential. The allies in there will help with that, but as much energy or as much stage gain as you can get is going to be a huge help with this deck. We've got 3 Orange Left Burst. Anger gain. If a drill is banished, you get to pull it back, rejuvenate it. 2 stages, 5 life cards. Just a good attack overall. Then we've got 3 Orange Counterball. Like I said, the rejuvenation in orange is pretty scarce, but this is one of those cards that'll do it. It only costs 1 stage, and it does 4 life cards. Anyway, that's the deck. So the general strategy here. You want to shoot up off of level 1 as quickly as you possibly can. You get stuck on 1 on this deck, you're kind of screwed. Of course, the allies are always there. They help with the stage gain, paying stages for attacks. Zarbon gives you the anger. Ginyu lets you see the opponent's hand. It's just the ally setup is pretty small, but it's there for a reason. I know it's kind of off the wall and not what people would usually run, but it's been helping me out a lot. As far as the drills go, like I said, that Orange Captivity drill is the only one that's really essential in my opinion. I wouldn't run any of them at a 3 of. There's just, it makes the deck too slow. And basically you're level hopping to 4 is your main goal. You want to get to 4 so you can search out and rejuve a supernova every single turn, or even the overpowering attack if the opponent, or not overpowering, overwhelming power if the opponent is drill or setup heavy. Either way, it really helps. So I think that'll do it for this deck video. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.